How are we doing, everyone? Today we are at Ironman, Texas, in Galveston, and we are going to show you a couple tips and tricks for triathletes and what not to do with your bike. So let's give it a go. Working on a Parley today. This is probably my eighth bike for today, and what we do here at Nirvana is we basically provide an experience for athletes, and part of that is the services that we provide, and that's access to a bike mechanic. So I am here making sure that our athletes are running well today. And apologies, where's my gloves? Got to get my gloves on, you. What I want to show everyone is a couple tricks with your stem and your derailleur. We see a lot of mistakes with athletes traveling with their bicycles and uh, making mistakes, putting the bike together in the hotel room. And so I wanted to show a couple of common ones that we see and maybe help you avoid that mistake. The bike I'm working on is a newer bike. It has through axles. There's a common issue we see with quick release, but I'm not going to show you that on this bike. Maybe doesn't look like I have another bike that I'll be able to show that, so maybe another day. I'm using a particle fork mount today. It's not my favorite to set up, but holds the bike. And okay, so we've got this set up here. Let me switch our camera angle. Oh, okay. Hmm. Okay, so what I want to show you is basically the back of the derailleur right here. What you will see is we have this what's called a B link or shadow link, and often we see these derailleurs where these have been positioned directly straight down. Let me show you what that looks like so you can identify what an incorrect setup looks like. So you've taken your derailleur off so you can have it protected during travel through the air flight. You go to put it back on, and notice this link right here that can move up and down. And let me see if I can put you a little bit better focus there. There we go. So you go to put your derailleur back on. You see these couple notches on the back here, and you say, okay, I think that maybe this is the best setup. And so you screw it into place. There it is. And what do you notice? Well, this is vertical, and you can see our upper pulley wheel is now jammed into the arm. We got a really slack chain. You're like, what the heck? All I did was take it off and put it back on. Well, the problem is that we put it back on, but we've now put it on incorrectly. So all you got to do if you're in this situation is just loosen this main mounting bolt just enough that you can bring this back all the way and then loosen it just a little bit more so I can get past that notch. Now, Shimano has these little notches and they're kind of tricky. As you can see, I kind of fuss with it here. But ultimately, the point is, in the end, Now this link is pointing straight back. And now we have a nice tight chain. Our pulley wheel is correctly positioned. We go to shift, everything's fine. All right, so that's the first mistake that we commonly see. I'm just going to go through the rest of the cycle real quick, and then we'll set it up, and I'll tell you the second mistake that we commonly see. Drifting on the bike is looking great. Customer said that this was pretty much all good, so we're just giving it a really quick check over. And I'm just going to do a quick safety check on the bolts. This looks good. We're not rubbing. So now let's show, I'm going to take the bike off the stand here. We'll show you the second mistake that's commonly seen. Maybe I'll sneak a third in there real quick. So when you've got your bike out, we've got the brake pads out here. If you squeeze the brake lever, these pads will actually press out. When you go to put the wheel in, it's going to become a problem because the pads are now in the way and you can't get the wheel put back into its position. If that happens, you can grab a flathead screwdriver. It's not ideal, but you can gently put that in there and open the pads, spread them open, put the wheel back into place. Now that we got the wheel back in place, I'm going to give it a spin, and you're going to gently pull the brake pad several times until it firms up and you feel like you've got a good bite right there. Spin the wheel. Let's make sure the rotor is not rubbing and the wheel is spinning freely. So you're good there. Move our rack out of the way. Just remove a cap here. So a lot of times when you're traveling, the next thing that we see is everyone's going to take their handlebars off and fold those to the side to fit it into your bike box. And when you put your stem back on, what we see is it's the steps of operation or steps of order that tends to be the problem. You have a top cap here that is your adjustment. You have two side screws that lock that adjustment. Often we see people lock the adjustment first before they do the adjustment. So that means you get your bike back together in your hotel room, hold your front brake, rock the bike back and forth. But what do you feel? It's very clunky and loose. Drop the front end, bounce it, you hear the clunkiness of that. And that's likely because the headset's now loose. So what do we do to remedy that? We got to loosen the two pinch bolts. And we got to do our adjustment on the top cap. Make sure that everything's nice and snug there. Now, you don't want to over tighten that. These are bearings. There's a happy medium between too tight, too loose. So the cap is to bring everything nice and snug, but we need to be able to turn the bars freely. So if I just let the bars to the side, you can see they just kind of flop over. That's exactly what we want. But if I hit the front brake and rock the bike back and forth, everything's nice and tight. So we already feel these are torqued, but again, if this is in a situation where it's loose, we're going to loosen both of these, and then we're going to come in from the top. Likely this is pretty loose, and it would be easy to spin until it snugs up. I like to give it a little bit of a clench, back off, and go real light, the real light tightness there. Come down here, and this is going to lock that adjustment, but make sure your bars are straight first. Lock down the adjustment. It's best to travel with the torque wrench. I recommend this style here. These are pretty neat. You can get these on Amazon for about 40 bucks. And they have the bits built in. You can set it at a 4, 5, or 6, which is really common for like aero bars, handlebars, stem. And it's really quick and easy to adjust. And what's really nice is if you over torque it, it just rolls over. In other words, you can't over torque it as long as you've got your setting adjusted here. So we're going to start with 5 Newton meters, which is what the stem is set for. If you don't know, read the stem. There's usually a little laser etching that will tell you what that adjustment should be. I got the wrong bit here. Let me grab a better bit. And I'll show you here. Watch my hand. We're going to go over and watch it release. Boom. When it does that, it's just rolling over. So now, if I try to do that again, it's basically at its stopping point. So for a novice, if you're not too familiar with tools, it's a great tool. You can't use it the wrong way, in other words, right? So we're going to do the other bolt on top. And both of them did cinch down a little bit. So that means we're now up to torque. And our adjustment is now locked in place. Again, pull the front brake, rock it back and forth. Feels good. The handlebars are straight. And let's return our little cap here. Pretty uncommon for these. This is very specific to this bike. All right. Oh, okay. Stem plate back in place. And then last thing you want to do is do what we call a safety check. You're going to stand in front of the bike and you're going to push the front tire up against both of your thighs, the inner side of your thigh. You're going to try to turn the bars. You want to make sure that everything's nice and firm there. If it spins or moves on you, you may want to reconsider this adjustment. If you continue to have problems, you may go to a bike shop or find a mechanic at that point. But if everything feels nice and solid, then you're safe, good to go. My name is Jesse. I'm a bike mechanic. This is Nirvana. See you later.